Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Tremblay. I work with the Western Quebec School Board and the Complementary Services Department. Part of my work is working with families and children and schools and helping out and supporting the transition to preschool education program. And with me here today is my colleague, Andrea Shatler.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Andrew Schadler, and I work at the Western Quebec School Board in the Complementary Services Department. And like Stephen, my role is to work with the family and with the school to help support the child's transition to kindergarten. Today, I will be presenting to you about the preschool education program for 5-year-olds and what we can do to support our child's transition to school.
So the medium we're using today is a bit different than usual. Usually we're meeting with parents and getting to know you in person at each school's orientation. But since we're here, we are with everything that's happening with COVID. We're doing more of an online interaction. So we hope this information will be useful. So really our role is to share information with parents and see what they can do to prepare their child for school. And how we do that is we work collaboratively with school, family, and community partners to ensure a successful school transition. And how we do that as early on as possible is when you come and register your child, there's a questionnaire now available called Getting to Know Your Child Better, and that provides good information for us from your perspective and from your experience on some of the concerns you may have, some of the strengths you may have about your child, so that we get as much of an accurate picture as possible before school starts. And at that point, if we need to, we can help and add and provide more resources and support if need be. So how we do that is really working together on behalf of the child. So here you can see the graph. The picture is the child is at the center. We want to make sure that the child is engaged, enjoys, and looks forward to going to school. And how that's achieved is we want parents and we want to support parents in taking a positive attitude towards school and their child's learning. And after that, it's how the school and the community responds and how a teacher, a school creates a respectful environment for the child to thrive and learn in the classroom. So what's a transition? Very quickly, it's just a period in which children gradually adjust to new and physical, social, and human environment. And the importance of that is that there's a lot of transitions in a child's life, and the first transition to school lays the foundation for future transitions. So it impacts their child's motivation and commitment to school. It supports school success, and it's the first opportunity to develop a school family community relationship at the beginning of the child's educational journey. So it's important that we build upon a strong foundation that was built at home, and we help transition that into school. So our focus for today is to give a quick overview of the preschool education for 5-year-old program, the program's competencies. We'll go over some of the developmental milestones, how to prepare your child for transition to school, how we can collaborate and work together, and some resources and information that might be helpful. So the preschool education program for 5-year-old is really a place where he or she will grow, learn socially, academically, and emotionally. The developmental milestones, the self-discovery, acquisition of knowledge, and the relationship building with peers and adults are the cornerstones of life in kindergarten. And the overall objective is to provide the right environment and conditions for the child to develop physically, emotionally, and intellectually. So at this point, it's really based on motivating, creating a safe environment and a good environment for the child to thrive in. So to follow up on that, Andrea will go specifically into the developmental milestones and give you a bit of an overview of some of the expectations and general abilities around that.
So the preschool education for 5-year-olds, it fosters children's overall development by developing 6 closely linked competencies, as you could see here on the slide. So we have to affirm his or her personality, which is developing their personal identity, who they are, to perform sensory motor actions, so developing gross and fine motor skills, to complete an activity or project, to construct his or her understanding of the world, which happens through daily experiences and through play, to communicate, which is our child's language development, and to interact harmoniously with others, so developing social skills. So the competencies represent specific areas of the child's global development while they're interconnected. So for example, building Lego, children develop their motor skills, interact with others, and apply the strategies to create their constructions. It's important to keep in mind that while children go through the same stages of development, it's important to know they do so in their own way and at their own pace. As parents and adults, educators, we need to be patient and just come alongside of our children in a supportive way. So to perform sensory motor actions. So this competency, it contributes to a child's physical and motor development. So through play and physical activity, children develop their gross and fine motor skills. So why are gross motor skills important? They're important because we rely on gross motor skills to perform everyday functions such as walking, running, skipping, and these kind of skills are crucial for everyday self-care skills like getting dressed. So in the wintertime, when your child has to go outside for recess, being able to put on their snowsuit, so having, to put one leg in their snowsuit while standing on the other. Also, we rely on fine motor skills for performing everyday skills such as self-care tasks. So clothing fastenings, opening lunch boxes, using cutlery, and also for academic skills like pencil skills for writing, drawing, coloring, as well as cutting and pasting. So to support your child's transition to school, having practiced some of these motor skills, like getting themselves dressed, clothing fastenings, and even practicing opening different items of their lunchbox will help your child's transitions during the school day. So here are some examples of gross motor activities that you can continue to practice at home with your child. So as you could see on the slide, we have activities like hopscotch, which is a great activity. It encourages direct task and skill practice. Simon Says for body awareness and movement planning. The wheelbarrow walking race, which is a great activity for upper body strength and trunk control. Unstable surfaces. So in your home, you could set up like an obstacle course-like activity where you use pillows and other objects and just have your child walk or climb over these unstable surfaces. It's a great way to develop balance and overall body strength. Catching and throwing a ball, so you can make it more challenging by having your child alternate the foot that they're standing on. Obstacle courses, this is a fun one, and it's also great because it combines a whole bunch of gross motor skills into one practice. So some examples of fine motor skills that you can practice at home: threading and lacing. So just using a variety of different size laces and beads and have your child create their own necklace. Tongs and tweezers, so for sorting objects, like this little girl in the picture here, she's using the tongs to pick up blocks in order to construct. Play-Doh for cutting, rolling, forming it into objects. So if you notice that cutting can be challenging, Play-Doh is a great way to develop these skills, and it's an easy way to introduce cutting. Manipulating games like pick up sticks, being able to use a steady grasp, concentration, and to developing that eye-hand coordination. So these are all great activities because developmentally, we know that our children's skills or their fine motor skills are still developing. And these kinds of activities, they enhance finger strength, but they also build our child's confidence. Sometimes children will become disengaged in fine motor activities if they find it to be too difficult. So practicing these early really helps with that transition to school. So to affirm his or her personality. So in this competency, children are continuing to develop who they are, so their personal identity. They learn to see themselves as individuals with their own interests, preferences, and needs. They affirm their personalities through everyday experiences with play and through different activities, and even with their interactions with others. So in general, 5-year-old, they choose activities they enjoy and express their creativity. They're increasingly independent, and they make their own choices and start to take initiatives. Egocentric. So here's an excerpt taken from Dr. Deborah McNamara, who is the author of the book Rest, Play, Grow, Making Sense of Preschoolers. It really is all about them because healthy development requires an understanding of the self and forming an identity before they can become a social being. So the focus should be on helping preschoolers understand who they are before expecting them to understand others. So just to recap, children need to develop a sense of self before focusing on getting along with others and being able to consider others' perspectives and feelings. So they're still developing in this area, but we're starting to see this shift happening where the brain is becoming more developed and we're starting to see the mixing of thoughts and feelings. So what's so intriguing about this shift that's happening around this time for our 5-year-old is that they're starting to have the capacity to be their own person, have their own perspective about something, but starting to consider others' perspectives and feelings. So to interact harmoniously with others. So in this competency, children are developing skills to cooperate with others, share materials, express ideas, listen to others, and children develop in this area through social interactions and by comparing their own understanding to the world of others. So that is when we start to recognize, or that is when our children start to recognize similarities and differences between them and others. So in general, 5-year-olds, they learn to respect others and pay attention to what they say, become open to individual differences, and they're starting to see others' viewpoints. So it's important to remember that at this age, children require our help before they're developmentally ready to see others' perspectives. So in this excerpt from Dr. McNamara, it really outlines this developmental process that's happening. So lack true consideration. Preschoolers, they see the world through a single lens and it's usually their own. When they could hold on to more than one perspective at a time, age 5 to 7, they will be able to consider someone else's feelings as well as their own. Until this time, adults will have to direct preschoolers to share and how to get along. We're starting to see this shift happening with our children, which is essentially, it marks the end of the preschooler mentality. So seeing that world through a single lens. So again, at the beginning of this shift, our children are at the beginning of this shift. So we have to still be patient and just mindful and guide our children through this process. So to communicate. So in this competency, children, they develop their interest in understanding and communication. Language is developed in real, meaningful, everyday situations through symbolic games, children's literature, and they begin to express and explain themselves and listen to questions and instructions. So the emphasis here is on exploration, developing curiosity, interest, and enjoyment in their language development. So although parents, we worry about academic readiness, what's most important is developmental readiness. So we must take into consideration our children's developmental stage. So as an example, a child may not be academically ready where another child is at in terms of reading ability, but what's most important is just developing that underlying enjoyment and love for books. So their reading skills, they will develop. So here's a demonstrative video just to anchor some of the points that I want to share with you.
90% of a child's brain capacity develops before age 5. By age 3, a child's brain has formed 3 quadrillion connections. This period of rapid mental growth is the best time for children to learn skills for early reading success. Caregivers can help young children develop early literacy skills by using these 5 practices developed by early childhood experts. 1. Read. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends reading to children for 20 minutes each day. 2. Sing. Singing is an enjoyable way for children to learn the sounds that make up words. 3. Talk. Have back and forth conversations with words or actions. 4. Play. Playing fosters imaginative, flexible, and symbolic thinking. 5. Write. Writing encourages fine motor skill development, including holding writing utensils. Look for times to work these 5 practices into your daily routine, like diaper changing time, bedtime, car rides, bath time, or getting dressed. Just a few minutes each day of intentional skill building can help the children in your life be ready to read. Visit herrickdl.org/early literacy for more.
So to construct his or her understanding of the world. So children construct their understanding of the world through their own actions and through the interactions of others. So in everyday experiences, children, they observe, experiment, and problem solve in order to make connections and develop their understanding of the world. Children will then internalize their acquired knowledge through free play and activities such as role play and dress up. So to complete an activity or project. So this competency involves the development of work methods and strategies that can be applied in other contexts. So in kindergarten, children will be working as an individual, team, or as a class to find solutions through exploration and trial and error. Adults can support their children when completing an activity at home just by asking questions, discussing different methods and strategies, talking about the difficulties, the problems that they've encountered along the way. So for example, just for baking, conversations about the ingredients they used, about measurements, materials, and these kinds of activities will develop their cognitive skills for future learning and for that transition into kindergarten. So the importance of play and emotions in global development. So we briefly covered the 6 competencies of the program. However, a child's emotional experiences and their world of play are fundamental in our children's overall global development. So through play, children develop critical thinking, communication, self-expression, and cognitive skills. So in this excerpt by Dr. Deborah McNamara, playful. So preschoolers love to play and come with instincts to discover, imagine, and explore. Play is where a child emerges as a separate being as they move to express and imprint themselves on their environment. Preschoolers need to play to discover their interests, release emotion, and develop creativity and problem-solving capacities. So because we know that play is essential in our child's development, as parents, what we can do to support this is to reserve time for play, which is essentially time that's set aside from structured activities, competitive activities, screen times, and even play that's set aside from play with their peers and even with their siblings. So as I previously mentioned, play is also a significant part in a child's emotional development. It's where emotions are released and expressed, and it's what reflects what our children might be struggling with and what might be upsetting them. So supporting emotional development. So how an adult or a parent can help support in this area is guide their child's feelings and emotions, and allowing them to feel their emotions. So let them feel angry, sad, even disappointed, and inviting those emotions to come forward and just be felt. Recognizing these feelings and just providing words to match their emotional state will support their emotional health and maturity. So again, Dr. Deborah McNamara, she talks about that developmental shift that happens between the ages of 5 to 7. So when children are starting to, they're starting to demonstrate impulse control, even when they have these strong emotions. So an example might be that you might start hearing your child say is that they're feeling angry, and they, and they might want to take a Lego from another child, but they've refrained from doing so because they're starting to have words to express how they're feeling. So it's that mixing of the feelings and thoughts that we're starting to see, and we know that that's our children are developing more emotional maturity. So here are some examples of play or types of play that can express emotions. So we have building and creating. So when a child makes and creates something, this is where they can find solutions to their own problems. Fine motor and quiet activities. So just being able to manipulate and different textures, exploring different textures. It's a way of calming a child, and it could help them through what might be upsetting them. Drawing and painting, this is a great outlet for one's emotions because it doesn't require words, and children, they focus on the process of doing something and not the outcome of it. And role play and dress up, this is just a safe place to release emotional energy and just to make sense of their world. So now Stephen will be summarizing today's presentation, and he'll be talking to you about some resources that might be of interest to you. Thank you.
So just a quick summary. So the preschool education program for 5-year-olds really facilitates that global development. So I just shared a lot of good information, and there's a lot of it. So please feel free to listen, go back, and ask any further questions if there are, because it's really about providing the learning activities to make sure that the development in all of those areas continue to grow. Children go through all the same developmental stages, and like Andrea said, they do it in their own way and that at their own pace, which is what we want to foster and grow. So that's something that you want to talk to your child, you want to talk to the school, teachers, ourselves. And if you have any more questions, again, it's something we can support. And really, from our perspective, it's important that everyone, the family, the school, the community really works together in order for the children to adapt to school and experience a sense of well-being and success, and most importantly, safety and security. And as Andrea mentioned, there's a lot of different resources available. There's a few excerpts from Dr. McNamara in the presentation. There's many infographics. There's many areas that you can click on links and be able to just go and look at the information. There's a lot out there. So if you do need help to go through it, and or if you have any specific questions, we can absolutely send you that information. We'll be sending links and further information to schools. And then we're going to hope to send it to parents whose children are starting kindergarten, either via email or social media through the individual school and the Western Quebec School Board. So Andrea and I, we can be contacted via email and via telephone. We can make appointments with you and do any type of follow-up. We're mostly there throughout the summer, so if there's any questions that you have after June, after school ends, we're there throughout July. So please feel free to communicate with us. And in conclusion, I just wanted to thank you for taking this opportunity to listen to this presentation, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thanks.